Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning. And today, I've got a rather interesting setup out here. I don't know if it's going to work or not. It might be halfway decent. It might really not look all that great at all. Really don't know. So I'm definitely curious to test it and at least see what happens either which way. So for the shell I've got out here today, I brought out some of these, the Remington Nitro Turkey loads, but these ones are the 12 gauge 2 3/4 inch ounce and a half of 4-shot, moving about 1260 feet per second. We've tried the 5s in the 2 3/4, and we've tried, I believe it was 6s in the 3.5 inch. Now the 3.5 inch shells, they were really not anything great. The 2 3/4 5s seem to be okay-ish, so I'm definitely curious to see how the 4-shot in the 2 3/4 inch shell actually shoots. I don't necessarily expect anything amazing out of them, but we don't know until we try them, I guess. And as for the setup I've got to run them through today, I brought out the Remington 1187 here, but for a choke, I went a very interesting direction. I threw this guy in the gun. This is the Patternmaster Black Mamba 690 choke, which is kind of their do-all, bridge the gap between turkey and waterfowl type of choke, and it has done well for both turkey and waterfowl shells for us, so there's definitely a chance that we can see a good pattern out of it, but it's definitely a little bit on the interesting side. It might be too open for these nitro turkey shells, being 690. It might be perfectly fine because these are 4-shot and 4s typically like a little bit more breathing room, or the gas over constriction in this choke might really work well or not play well at all with those shells. I really don't know. I don't know that there's going to be much in between here. It's either going to work or it ain't, is what I'm guessing anyway. But we'll just have to see what kind of pattern it actually does give us, I guess. So for today's test, everything is set up the same as usual. I have the turkey target downrange at 40 yards. I also have the chronograph, so we'll be able to get our speed and how close it is to the 1260 claim on the box. So let's get you guys set up with a view of the target. We'll head up and take our shot, look at our chrono, and then go down and see how they actually performed. Again, I don't necessarily have the highest hopes for this combo, but on the flip side, it could actually surprisingly work out for us. I don't know, but let's go over here and test it and just see what happens, I suppose. Okay, so that shell gave us 1208 through the chronograph. The box is claiming 1260, so we're definitely a little bit under that. But right around that 1200 mark is kind of right where I'd want to be for a shell like this anyway. So even though we didn't quite see their claim, I definitely don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with the velocity here either. But how did it actually pattern, and did this combo actually work out for us down at 40 yards? Let's go take a look and see. All right, now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. Now, before anything, we do technically have a dead bird. There is one right through the brain there, and one or two more of those pellets down the spine might have just barely clipped something. So he is a dead bird, but either way, looking at the rest of the pattern here, it's very clearly obvious that no, this setup or combination did not work out for us at all. Now, that's definitely not totally surprising either, I'd say. Considering what we've seen previously out of these nitro turkey shells, and that Black Mamba being a 690, so not necessarily the tightest choke, this result doesn't really surprise me, to be honest with you. Now, if we could still use lead for waterfowl, that would be a pretty decent looking duck load, I'd say. But definitely not what I'm looking for turkeys, that's for sure. But I guess as for the pattern we do have here, it's definitely pretty far towards the open side. There's no doubt about it. We don't necessarily have a core area either, and there's most definitely some larger gaps and voids like those two right down there, as well as a couple more over here off the top right corner, as well as several other ones around the rest of the pattern that are pretty noticeable. I mean, technically, would it have done the job, or would it work out to 40 yards? Probably so. But if this is the combo that you had and you absolutely just had to make this one work, I mean, 30 yards and in is probably where I'd want to keep it. But again, this is not totally surprising either, considering the setup and combination that we actually tried here today. Okay, and here's the wad out of that shell, and as you can see, pretty typical Remington style wad. They have these ribs on the inside of the petals here, but there's nothing stuck down in there. There's a few tiny little pinholes on the petals of this wad here, but nothing that I'm too worried about or concerned about. Overall, I'd say this wad looks pretty run-of-the-mill, pretty average, not any kind of damage I'd be concerned about or weird performance. It opened up relatively evenly, so I mean, I guess it did what it was supposed to do for the shell in today's test, but the combination as a whole just did not work out for us. But the wad in itself, definitely not anything too special to take note of. All right, y'all. Well, what did you think about that performance there? I guess it's really not all that surprising considering the combo that we had out here today, but it was a wild idea that I had just looking through the cabinet of stuff I had. Figured we'd try it and see what happens because it had the possibility to surprise us anyway. But clearly, not a setup that I would want to use for turkeys, that's for sure. So I guess now we need to run these Nitro Turkey 4s through some tighter chokes and see what we can actually get out of them through some little bit more designated turkey chokes anyway. I don't necessarily have the highest hopes for them, but if there's a combo that you guys want to see, then by all means, let me know. We'll see what they can do. But as always, leave your thoughts in the comments. Is that about what you expected to see here? Or were you a little bit surprised one way or the other? And if you've tried the Nitro Turkeys in the 2 3/4 inch number 4 shot, how have they done for you? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more tests to film today for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.